All houses ever in Westeros. George R.R. Martin has created a universe that's immensely huge and detailed. There are essentially two continents, the eastern continent of Essos, and the western continent of Westeros. However, within Westeros there are hundreds of great and small houses. In this video, we have compiled a list of all the houses in Westeros. Do let me know in the comments how many houses you personally knew. Let's begin. House Algood. House Illyrian of God's Grace. House Amber. House Ambrose. House Andric of Southshield. House Appleton of Appleton. House Arryn of Gulltown. House Arryn of the Eyrie. House Ashford of Ashford. House Ashwood. House Baelish of Harrenhal. House Baelish of the Fingers. House Ball. House Bainfort of Bainfort. House Bar Emon of Sharp Point. If you are from India, check out this awesome website with the coolest t-shirts. I'll post a link in the description. House Baratheon of Dragonstone. House Baratheon of King's Landing. House Baratheon of Storm's End. House Beesbury of Honeyholt. House Belgrave. House Belmore of Strongsong. House Betley. House Bigglestone. House Blackbar of Bandallan. House Blackberry. House Blackfire. House Blackmont of Blackmont. House Blackmire. House Blacktide of Blacktide. House Blackwood of Raventree Hall. House Blaintree. House Blunt. House Boggs. House Bolling. House Bolton of the Dreadfort. House Borrell of Sweet Sister. House Borney. House Bolton of Winterfell. House Botley of Lordsport. House Bracken of Stonehenge. House Branch. House Brax of Hornvale. House Breakstone. House Briar. House Bridges. House Brightstone. House Brook. House Broom. House Brownhill. House Brune of Brown Hollow. House Brune of the Deer Den. House Buckler of Bronzegate. House Buckwell of the Antlers. House Bulwer of Blackground. House Burley. House Bush. House Bushy. House Butterwell of Whitewalls. House Birch. House Bywater. House Catherine of Thornton. House Cargyle. House Caron of Nightsong. House Castle. House Casterly of Casterly Rock. House Caswell of Bitterbridge. House Cave. House Celtigar of Claw Isle. House Serwyn of Castle Serwyn. House Chambers. House Charlton. House Chelsted. House Chester of Greenshield. House Chittering. House Clegane of Clegane's Keep. House Bowl. House Crane of Red Lake. House Cray. House Cressy. House Crowle of Deepdown. House Cups. House Cooey of Sunhouse. House Dalt of Lemonwood. House Dargood. House Dark. House Darklan of Duskendale. House Darkwood. House Darry of Darry. House Dane of High Hermitage. House Dane of Starfall. House Deadings. House Doggett. House Dondarian of Blackhaven. House Doniger. House Drinkwater. House Drox. House Drum of Old Wyke. House Dryland of Hellgate Hall. House Dunn. House Durandon. House Durrell. House Dustin of Barrowton. House Edgerton. House Egan. House Elesham of the Paps. House Irenford. House Errol of Haystack Hall. House Estermont of Greenstone. House Estron of Windhall. House Falwell. House Farman of Faircastle. House Faring. House Farrow. House Farwind of Sealskin Point. House Farwind of the Lonely Light. House Fell of Fellwood. House Fen. House Ferren. House Hersey of Newkeep. House Hurston. House Fisher of the Misty Isle. House Fisher of the Stony Shore. House Flint of Breakstone Hill. House Flint of Flint's Finger. House Foxglove. House Flint of Widow's Watch. House Florent of Brightwater Keep. House Folard. House Foot. House Foot of Night Song. House Footley of Tumbleton. House Forester. House Fossaway of Cider Hall. House Fossaway of New Barrel. House Fowler of Skyreach. House Foxglove. House Frey of River Run. House Frey of the Crossing. House Frost. House Gardener of Highgarden. House Gargalin of Salt Shore. House Garner. House Gaunt. House Glover of Deepwood Mott. House Goodbrook. House Goodbrother of Corpse Lake. House Goodbrother of Crowspike Keep. House Goodbrother of Downdelving. House Goodbrother of Orkmont. House Goodbrother of Shatterstone. House Goodbrother of Hammerhorn. House Good. House Gower. House Graceford of Holy Hall. House Grafton of Gulltown. House Grandison of Grandview. House Graves. House Greenfield of Greenfield. House Greengood. House Greenhill. House Greenwood. House Grell. House Grey. House Greyiron of Orkmont. House Greyjoy of Pike. House Greystark of the Wolf's Den. House Grim of Grey Shield. House Groves. House Hay. House Hamill. House Harkley. House Hardy. House Harding. House Harlaw of Greygarden. House Harlaw of Harlaw Hall. House Harlaw of Herodon Hill. House Harlaw of Harlaw. House Harlaw of the Tower of Glimmering. House Harroway of Harrenhal. House Hart. House Hastwick. House Hasty. House Hoyk of Saltpans. House Hawthorne. House Hayford of Hayford. House Heddle. House Heatherspoon. House Hewitt of Oakenshield. House Hightower of Old Town. House Hoare of Orkmont. House Hull. House Hollard. House Holt. House Hook. House Hornwood of Hornwood. House Horp. House Hull. House Humble. House Hunt. House Hunter of Longbow Hall. House Hutchison. House Inchfield. House Ironmaker. House Ironsmith. House Jast. House Jordan of the Tor. House Justman. House Carstark of Carhold. House Keith. House Kellington. House Kenning of Harlaw. House Kenning of Casey. House Kettle Black. House Kidwell of Ivy Hall. House Knott. House Kindle. House Lady Bright. House Langwood. House Lynette. House Lannister of Casterly Rock. House Lannister of Darry. House Lannister of Lannisport. House Lanny. House Lansdale. House Lantell. House Leek. House Lefford of the Golden Tooth. House Laygood. House Liddle. House Lightfoot. House Lips. House Lock of Oldcastle. House Lollistan. House Long. House Longthorpe of Longsister. House Longwaters. House Lomouth. House Lorch. House Lothstone of Harrenhal. House Lowther. House Liber. House Leicester. House Liddon of Deep Den. House Linderley of Snakewood. House Magnar of King's House. House Mallory. House Mallister of Seaguard. House Manderley of White Harbour. House Mandrake. House Manning. House Manwoody of Kingsgrave. House Marbrand of Ashmark. House Marsh. House Martell of Sunspear. House Massey of Stonedance. House Meadows of Grassy Vale. House Melcombe of Old Anchor. House Merlin of Pebbleton. House Merryweather of Longtable. House Mertens of Mistwood. House Middlebury. House Mollin. House Moore. House Mouton of Maidenpool. House Moorland. House Mormon of Bear Island. House Morrigan of Crow's Nest. House Moss. House Mud of Old Stones. House Millendor of Uplands. House Musgood. House Myatt. House Merrow of Harlaw. House Nayland of Hagsmire. House Netley. House Norcross. House Norrie. House Norwich. House Newt of Oakenshield. House Nutt. House Oakart of Old Oak. House Old Flowers. House Awkward of Orkmont. House Orme. House Orme Osgrey of Leafy Lake. House Osgrey of Standfast. House Overton. House Page. House Parron. House Payne. House Peak of Starpike. House Peasbury of Pottingfield. House Peat. House Peckledon. House Pemford. House Penny. House Penrose of Parchments. House Perrin. House Piper of Pink Maiden. House Plum. House Pomingham. House Poole. House Potter. House Prester of Feastfires. House Prior of Pebble. House Pile. House Pine. House Coheris of Harrenhal. House Corgyle of Sandstone. House Quag. House Rampton. House Rankinfell. House Redbeard. House Redfort of Redfort. House Redwine of the Arbor. House Reed of Greywater Watch. House Rain of Castamere. House Riesling. House Risley of Risley Glade. House Rogers of Amberley. House Rollingford. House Root of Lord Harroway's Town. House Rosby of Rosby. House Rowan of Golden Grove. House Roxton of the Ring. House Royce of Runestone. House Royce of the Gates of the Moon. House Ruskin. House Ruthermont. House Ruttiger. House Rider of the Rills. House Ruger of Willow Wood. House Ruger of Duskendale. House Risewell of the Rills. House Saltcliffe of Saltcliffe. House Santagar of Spotswood. House Sarsfield of Sarsfield. House Sawyer. House Seaworth of Cape Wrath. House Selmy of Harvest Hall. House Surrett of Silverhill. House Serry of Southshield. House Sharp. House Shawnee. House Shell. House Shepherd. House Shermer of Smithyton. House Shet of Gull Tower. House Shet of Gulltown. House Slate of Blackpool. House Sloane. House Slint of Harrenhal. House Smallwood of Acorn Hall. House Spar of Great Wyke. House Spicer of Castamere. House Stackhouse. House Stedman of Broad Arch. House Stark of Winterfell. House Staunton of Rook's Rest. House Stonehouse of Old Wyke. House Stonetree of Harlaw. House Stout of Goldgrass. House Straw. House Strong of Harrenhal. House Suggs. House Sunderland of the Three Sisters. House Sunderly of Saltcliffe. House Sunglass of Sweetport Sound. House Swan of Stonehelm. House Sweet. House Swift of Cornfield. House Swiggett. House Stackspear. House Stokeworth of Stokeworth. House Stain of Driftwood Hall. House Tallheart of Torrens Square. House Tarbeck of Tarbeck Hall. House Targaryen of King's Landing. House Tarley of Horn Hill. House Tarth of Evenfall Hall. House Tawny of Orkmont. House Teague. House Templeton of Nine Stars. House Terrick. House Then. House Thorn. House Toland of Ghost Hill. House Tollett of the Grey Glen. House Torrent of Little Azista. House Towers. House Towers of Harrenhal. House Toyne. House Trant of Gallows Grey. House Tudbury. House Tully of River Run. House Turnbury. House Tyrell of Brightwater Keep. House Tyrell of Highgarden. House Uffering. House Uller of the Hellholt. House Umber of the Last Hearth. House Upcliff of the Witch Isle. House Vaith of the Red Dunes. House Vance of Atranta. House Vance of Wayfarer's Rest. House Varna. House Valerian of Driftmark. House Vakari. House Volmark of Volmark. House Vipron. House Viowell of Darkdell. House Wade. House Wagstaff. House Warwick. House Waterman, House Wexley of Wickenden, House Wayne, House Wainwood of Iron Oaks, House Weatherwax, House Weaver, House Webber of Coldmoat, House Wells, House Wendwater, House Wensington, House Westbrook, House Westerling of the Crag, House Whitfield, House Went of Harrenhal, House Whitehead of the Weeping Town, House Whitehill of High Point, House Whitfield, House Willem, House Woad, House Woodfoot of Bear Island, House Reading, House Woodhull, House Woods, House Woodwright, House Wallfield, House Wormwood, House Wall, House Whiteman, House Will of the Boneway, House Wild of Rain House, House Winch of Ironholt, House Withers, House Yarwick, House Yelshire, House Yew, House Ironwood of Ironwood. So, that was a list of all the houses in Westeros. Do let me know in the comments how many houses you personally knew. Stay safe and have a good one.